Hello YouTube and welcome back to What the Math. In today's video we're gonna try something different in Kerbal Space program. Specifically, I want to try to use one of my older saves from the beta version, which I think I just loaded, and then see what happens if you actually use a design from beta version on a new Kerbal Space program version 1.0. So this is the design I'm talking about. This is from my Grand Tour, which I am going to finish. I may have to improvise a little bit because I did not bring any heat shields. I did not bring any drog parachutes. I did not bring nothing. I have nothing on my awesome... what was the name of the spaceship? I forgot. Yes, so this is what I'm going to try to do. This is my Eve lander, and I'm going to try to basically approach Eve as I usually would in beta or previous versions of the game, at approximately 80 kilometers of altitude. So basically we're going to try to use air braking using the previous design with the new Kerbal 1.01 version, and see what happens. Now if I think what's going to happen is everything's just going to explode, overheat, and possibly get ripped to pieces. Now I only really need my lander, so I'm going to actually decouple this part and switch to my lander, and then see if we can actually land on Eve. And if we can, if by some magical occurrence we actually can land on Eve, we're then going to... what's happening here? What's happening here? We're then going to do the following. We're going to take off Eve and see if this actually works as well. Alrighty, so what is happening? Why is this not decoupling? It looks decoupled. I'm loving the new graphics too. I think they've improved the graphics a little bit. Am I? Oh yeah, we're slowly drifting apart. Alright, that's cool. That works. That works. Alright, righty. So let's switch to this. We're gonna control our spaceship from here. And this is Mr. Jebediah Kerman. Super happy about everything that's happening right now. Even though I don't think he knows what's going on. Mr. Kerman. Mr. Kerman. The game has been updated. There's a lot of new effects that are going to be in place. Anyway, so let's accelerate this a little bit more. Alright, so yeah, it is drifting apart. So, approaching Eve is going to be interesting. Now, normally what would happen, I mean, in beta version or below, what would happen is you could basically use the air braking easily without really destroying anything. By circling around Eve, getting into its atmosphere, and usually you didn't have to bother with adding heat shields or any other parts, but now you do. Now you do have to worry about that. So let's see what happens. I'm gonna wait for us to get a little bit closer to Eve. I am using atmospheric mod as well, so you won't really see where I'm landing. You will see the Eve atmosphere, but that's about it. Okay, getting a little bit closer. And let's see how this is looking. I just want to make sure that my altitude doesn't change too dramatically. Alright, 79 kilometers. So, normally what I would aim for is 67. And this would actually would always put me into an eccentric orbit around Eve. I decided to add 10 kilometers because I want to be safe rather than sorry. And see if I can actually slow down enough and not destroy my spaceship at 79 kilometers. So essentially what we're trying to do here is not explode. Now this was at least one of the better designs for an Eve lander and Eve takeoffer. Is that a word? It is now. Basically that I've used in a previous video where I took off from Eve and reconnected with my space station. And this is what I was using. This was my original design. I really had no idea that they're going to introduce a mandatory heat shields to all spaceships. I should have read the patch notes, but yeah, so let's see what happens. Let's see if we actually survive this. I believe some of these parts do have a really high heat capacity, or basically they can actually survive really high temperatures, but I don't know if it's going to be a doable thing. So alright, we're about to enter Eve's atmosphere in about a few seconds. Here we go. The game is going to actually automatically stop the warping as soon as we enter the atmosphere. And right about now, it starts at around 97 kilometers. Here we go. Time warp 111x. So let's check our speed here. Where's the speed? The flight engineer changed a little bit to horizontal speed. Alright, this is what we're looking at. This needs to be This needs to be really low. This needs to be like, I don't know, 3,000? No, more than that. 3,300, I think. Or maybe 3,500. So I need to lose about 1,000 mirror per second delta V. So I am in the atmosphere now. You can see the atmospheric pressure here increased a little bit, and my ship is being turned by the atmospheric pressure. So far we are losing a little bit of speed. Why is my target something else? My target should be Eve. Can I place Eve as my target? I can't. Uh-oh. Okay, so I don't really see the speed here. It's showing me target speed. But this also means that I'm decreasing my velocity. I've already lost about 20 meters per second. Alright. And so the ship is being torn by the atmospheric pressure. And I think 79, right? Yeah, 79 is going to be the periapsis here. And I don't think that's going to be enough for us to do anything. So my ship is still alive and well. It is being turned a little bit. And something just exploded. Oh, no, you didn't. No. No. Jebediah Kerman. Jebediah Kerman. Jebediah Kerman. Jebediah has exploded. What? Why did he explode? That is the saddest thing I have seen. The ship is still alive, but Jebediah is gone. For some unknown reason, or I guess known reason, I guess he just overheated and died. So yeah, that did not expect that at all. I did not expect that. Surprisingly, all other parts are still alive though. So I guess now, if you are planning to do atmospheric re-entry type of situation, or basically if you're trying to land your Kerbal somewhere where there is an atmosphere, you can't really use the chair anymore. The chair is not a sound solution to a lot of situations. Oh, it worked perfectly well before, but now it doesn't. Alright, so we did survive the atmospheric approach at 78 kilometers. So that's feasible. I don't know if that's going to decrease our speed enough though. So I wonder if so I guess a possibility here would be, if you are coming to Eve with a similar design, would be to include, like, I do have these extra things that are not actually needed. So what I would do in the future, I think I would just attach like maybe 3 air brakes per the thingy, per whatever that's called, and see if that decreases my speed even more. But I don't know if I'll be able to survive this. So we're gonna try this again at slightly lesser altitude of, let's just say 72 kilometers. So let's try this again. I'm gonna reload my game and do this again at 72 kilometers. And here comes the attempt number 2. This time periapsis is at 74.5 kilometers. I couldn't do it 72. It was a little bit too tricky to make it 72. So let's just start with this. See if same thing happens with Jebediah Kerman. I'm actually really concerned, or not concerned I guess, but disappointed that Kerbals can't survive the air pressure anymore. So you can't really keep them outside. You have to keep them inside during the re-entry and takeoff. That basically invalidates a lot of my previous designs. They're all kind of outdated now, because a lot of the times I would use just the chair. I love the chair designs. It gave me kind of a respect for Kerbals as well, because they were just tough as nuts. As nails. Nuts? Nails. One of those. And, you know, give him kind of a respect from me, because they could survive all this crazy stuff and still come back home alive. Now they can't. They can't anymore. They die. They die from a little bit of air pressure, which is gonna happen, I guess. Let's see how much they can survive. I'm gonna keep track of this. Okay, I'm just gonna keep track of this here, but he seemed to have survived a little bit longer this time. He's still alive, surprisingly. We're already at 77. Oh, never mind. 77 kilometers. How am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do this grand tour with my chair design if he dies every time that we get to a certain atmospheric pressure? And here we go. We're at 74 now. The ship is burning, but everything seems to be still okay, even though it is a little bit redder than usual. Let's see if this is gonna do anything. Is this a viable design or not? Here comes the big answer to this big question. Oh, it's so beautiful. So much more beautiful than before. Okay, did I reach my... Yeah, wait, no, not yet. That's not my periapsis yet. Come on, don't die. Don't die on me, Barada. I wonder if I can check the temperature somehow. Oh, the cables are alive, surprisingly. You would think that the cables would melt right away. And I think we're about to reach the periapsis. Yes, we survived! Oh my lord. We did survive. Okay, so 74 is still good. Now I wonder if this will put me into an elliptical orbit around Eve. So let's find out if that's going to happen. The speed has decreased just a little bit. Not enough to get into a good orbit, but let's see if this does anything. So I was able to survive with this no heat shield design. I think it was atmospheric pressure of about maybe 21% ish. 21%, sounds about right. Okay, so we did survive this. Let's see how our orbit is. Oh, that is awesome. Look at that. Look at that. We did get into orbit around Eve with no heat shields, no air brakes, nothing, and no Jebediah Kerman. Jebediah Kerman passed away on our first attempt. Alright, so I'm gonna try to land without him. Let's see if this works. I'm gonna circle around a few times. And let's see if we can actually land. If we can land, that would be great. But chances are we're not gonna land. We definitely can get into orbit around Eve without the heat shields though. That's good to know. So if you are planning to come to Eve, aim for 74 kilometers. You don't need heat shields. You can survive and get into orbit around Eve. And after this, you can, if you bring, I think if you bring like a heat shielded craft, you can basically then land safely. And this is the second passage. This time I think we're going to go a little bit lower, probably 73 kilometers, and then see what happens there. But in retrospect, I guess what you could do if you are aiming for the similar design, you could possibly place heat shields on top of each of these little engine fuel tanks. But the problem, of course, is that it's going to add a tremendous amount of weight. So I don't really know if this is a feasible design anymore. Because the idea here was that it was really light and very efficient, and this great worked for Eve and really, you know, any planet. You can always do this with similar design, just a little bit smaller for any planet. But unfortunately, this doesn't work well anymore. Okay, why is my ship spinning so much? That is not good. That is really not good. But here we go. This is 76 kilometers, 75. It's about to position itself face forward, and let's see if the second passage is a success or a failure. So I guess the burnout thing happens around 74.5 kilometers. So that's when everything starts getting really hot. But not too hot. Not too hot yet. Just a little bit of flame out right here. So 73.9, and that is. Nothing exploded yet. So this was the periapsis, about 73.5 kilometers, and it looks like everything survived yet again. I'm gonna keep doing this until something happens. Either we land or something gets destroyed, so that we know which part is the weakest component. Who is the weakest link here? So far, everything's good. And this is the third passage, and we got as low as 72.9, and everything is still just fine. The orbital speed decreased to about 3,800 meters per second, which means that we're getting just a little bit closer to that potential landing. So I think if I keep circling around in this way, just keeping my periapsis quite high enough not to overheat my spaceship, I think we may actually be able to do something about the landing part. I don't want to jinx it yet because things might still explode. But this is I mean, the heat right now, the heat that's being generated right now seems to be not enough to destroy everything yet, which is a good sign. And as you can see, it only overheats starting at around 74 kilometers of an altitude from Eve. And after the three passages, we got an almost circular orbit. The periapsis is 71 kilometers and apoapsis is 530 kilometers. You can actually circularize this now to get into a really nice orbit around Eve, and no heat shields were required, no air brakes were required, so this is absolutely awesome. Did not expect this to happen, but The next passage will determine if we can actually land on Eve without the heat shields. Oh, looks like things are getting a little bit hotter this time. This is not looking good. At 71 kilometers, the orbital velocity is still relatively high, but things are really heating up. Oh, there's a lot of fire everywhere. That might actually not end up well for us. This is a lot hotter than it was before. Yeah. Okay. Alright, very cool. Okay. I don't like where this is going. I really don't like where this is going. Oh, this is really, really hot. So, if this ship is destroyed, I mean, if it explodes right now, I think what I would suggest is basically putting a bunch of heat shields in front. But that would just increase the weight dramatically, so this design might not be as efficient anymore. However, if you do add another layer, another asparagus layer, this might give you still give you enough fuel to escape Eve, especially if you're at a higher altitude of like 3 to 4 kilometers above the surface. Okay, it's didn't explode yet, but the orbital speed is really high though. I don't know if this is going to be a successful landing. I think we are going for landing though. Horizontal speed is already below. Yeah, it's already below the orbital speed, so we are going to be landing more like crashing though, in pieces probably. But let's see what happens. I'm kind of actually really curious with it. I'm really excited about this. I'm not so happy about the Jebediah Kerman's situation, but I think this can be easily solved by, well, obviously attaching a Mark 1 pod would be one solution, but that would also decrease your delta V dramatically. But the other solution is that you could actually possibly attach some sort of a cone right above him to protect him from all this superheated air. If you just attach a little mushroom-like cone right above him, it might actually save you a lot of weight and protect him as well. Alright, so we're 66 kilometers, 66.5. Orbital speed is 2900 meters per second. The ship is really hot, but the parts are still holding. Nothing is melting, nothing is exploding. It's still doing good. And by good, I mean not good. Almost bad, but not as bad as it could be. Not as bad as Jebediah Kerman, which is a total shock to me. Alright, so I don't really care where we land at this point, but I just want to see if we can actually get to something, get somewhere. 2700 meters per second. Horizontal speed right here is actually 25 meters per second, but this is the orbital speed. I do need to be going a lot slower though if I want to survive this ordeal. But the fact that we're decreasing altitude is actually not a good sign, because the atmospheric pressure will increase, and I think when it gets to about 50% of the Eve's atmosphere, that's when we enter the supersphere, as some people call it, the really thick layer of atmosphere where things will just get really hot if you go in this fast. So we need to slow down. Kind of wonder what my atmospheric efficiency is right now. It's not here, it is right here. Okay, it's just under 100%. That means that we are going at a velocity that doesn't overheat us too much. And it's actually, no, it's increasing again. I think if it gets to over 100%, this is when things might get really dangerous. Oh, like right now. Uh-oh. That is really not good. So what this, if you don't know what this is, it's basically you want to have this at about 100% during takeoff, because this means that you're not wasting any fuel due to air drag. This is essentially a representation of air drag in comparison to your velocity. But for landings, especially for this type of a landing, I think you want to keep this below 100 so that you don't overheat your spaceship. And I think right now I'm really hot here. Oh, and the game just crashed. I think it possibly crashed because something exploded. I think that's possibly what happened. Not 100% sure, but I'm gonna try this again and see if this is what's gonna happen again, because at around 65 kilometers the ship just kind of I think it overheated, and so instead of letting me see the explosions, the game decided to crash. Let's see if this is what's gonna happen again, because I have a feeling that is what happened. So this is a save game from right before. I'm gonna accelerate time and possibly remove these so that the game is a little bit faster. I have another flight engineer here. I'm using some of the outdated mods here, so this might be the reason why it crashed. One of the outdated mods is Kerbal Engineer. I did have an older version on this spaceship. This is actually an engineering module from the previous edition. And the other thing is I'm also using atmospheric, it's like a volumetric clouds mod, which makes things more beautiful. But this is possibly why the game is incompatible and has crashed. But so yeah, let's discover the cause of this crash. I have a strong feeling it's because something exploded, which means that we cannot land without the heat shields. So here we go again, attempt number 2. If it crashes, it means something exploded, and this design is inviable. It doesn't work on Eve. However, this would most likely work on Lathe, because the atmosphere there is a lot less thick, and also on Duna as well. This might actually work on Duna and Lathe because the atmosphere is less thick, and it seems like you don't really need to have heat shields on those two planets, because you'll never see so much burning on either one of those two planets. Not so sure about Kerbin, of course. Kerbin very likely to suffer from the same problem, but Lathe and Duna are possible two contenders for heat shield less, air brake less approach and landing. And I'm gonna try this in some of the future videos. I'm actually gonna try to land on both of them without any heat shields, without anything but fuel tanks and engines. Alright, so I think 66 or 65 kilometers was when the game crashed last time, so let's see if this happens again. And if it does, that means something didn't go wrong. Or what I meant to say is something didn't go right. Yeah, this is really hot. Look at that. Look at how burningly hot it is. I'm surprised it actually survived for that long too, because this is like a minute of burning. And the thing is, there's no way I can actually wait, let me just check something. Yeah, there's no way I can escape anymore. We are going to be falling now. Apoapsis here is 69 kilometers. So just above where we are right now. We're about to reach Apoapsis actually. Okay. Yeah, here we go. That was 61 kilometers. Something just exploded. I have no idea what it was. I pressed the escape button out of fear. But yeah, you can see there's like heat generated right there. So, what was that? Was that a parachute? I don't even know what that was. It's definitely something important because it created quite a boom. Possibly an engine actually. There's something right here that's going to explode right now as well. Any second. 59, 58 kilometers. The game didn't crash, but yeah, I don't think we'll survive this. Let's see if anything survives actually. There's something else right here and also right here that's going to explode any second. Those are not tanks though, so fuel tanks seem to be fine. I'm pretty sure those are engines probably. And unfortunately after that last explosion the game crashed again, so I'm not sure if this is related to the game or the mods I'm using, but yeah, it's obviously not a viable design and something needs to be changed. I need to possibly either add heat shields or something, but it wasn't the tanks that were exploding, it was actually the engines I think. And so that means that the engines have to be protected, or I need to make sure that I basically am always head first without really deviating from the descent path. So that means attaching a few control winglets or something, just so that we can actually or what do you call it, canards, I think they're called canards, so that we can actually maneuver our ship so that it's always face first. Now this was an interesting attempt. I'm gonna try the same with a few other planets just to see if it actually works, but obviously it doesn't work on Eve, so Eve designs have to be changed. You cannot land on Eve using previous designs anymore, you do need to change a lot of things. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please subscribe. And in the next video, we're going to actually continue the Grand Tour and also do a few more videos where we attempt to land on Eve using a newly designed spaceship. Thank you guys, and game you later. Bye bye.